Okay. I'm Jim. And this is a dumb shit from the internet. I am your dumb shit from the internet. But in this case, again, I offer some dumb shit that I experienced recently. Ground rules. I got notes. I want to make sure I touch on all the things that I want to touch on. But ground rules for this. This isn't about who's a good person or a bad person. There's enough of that going on that I don't need to be a part of it. This also isn't about if I like the Aquarino, if I like Acro Killer, or if I like this dude James, who jumped into my DMs yesterday. This is about facts. And if the facts are true, they're facts. I don't care. Generally, I don't care what people think. I don't care what people think about me as a person. Quite often people will attack, and attack's such a strong word because it's not really that. I mean, it's sad more than anything, but they will attempt to go personal. Like, they'll call me Reefing Karen. They'll wonder if I took a shower. I haven't today. I've been busy. They'll refer to me as some people. I am some people. So, let me just get to it. This Aquarino that I've had since May of 2025, which is probably earlier than most, if not all, of the people in the United States, which is irrelevant. I don't care if I'm first or last or whatever. I say that because I've had some experience with this machine. May of 2025. I've had problems with it. Aquarino they've been completely responsive. When DMing, totally professional. When they jump into the comments with Cheese Whiz, Aqua Whiz, then it gets a little spicy, and I gotta tell them both to shut up and remove their comments. But in DMs, Aquarino has been totally cool, professional, responsive, customer service oriented, wanting me to be happy. My goal isn't to be happy with this. My goal is to test it, which is what I was asked to do. But I've had it for a while. There, that's enough, right? This is the degassing chamber out of the Aquarino. And at some point in my use of this machine, potentially after I performed a cleaning procedure given to me by the company to perform, this 3D printed degassing chamber started leaking. That's okay. It's a 3D printed thing living inside of liquid, containing liquid, and its goal is to keep those liquids separated so the sample can be taken. This one leaked. I don't know that they all leak. I would assume that they don't. I just happen to be the lucky recipient of a extremely well cared for Aquarino with a leaking degassing chamber. A couple other problems with it too. Minor things. Well, one minor thing and one maybe worth exploring later. But like the air pump inside fell off. I contacted them and they're like, well, we just hot glued that thing on. So I took it apart and I'm like, sure enough. And I just hot glued it back together. And then my readings have been inconsistent. And Aquarino has been very responsive to try to help me understand what I need to do with my existing machine to get those readings on track. So far, no luck. They've offered an upgrade, and so far I've resisted because, like I said, my goal is not to make this thing right. It's to understand long-term how it performs. I may just have the unlucky equipment. Totally possible, because I know of at least one other that is the same version and it works fine. So cool. I've spent my entire life fixing things. I'm now retired. So if you're going to give anybody something that's going to break, give it to the person who has fixed things their whole life, because there's a different perspective for somebody like me. Like I'm like, cool, let's figure it out. That may require a hardware upgrade. I'm just not done with figuring it out on my end yet. So I shared on Instagram that the degassing chamber was leaking. For reasons I think I understand, Acrokiller got upset about that. I can't say he got upset. Acrokiller created a post that said I was looking for attention. By sharing my personal experience with something that broke, I was seeking attention. Now, Acrokiller, and I don't know that this is public or that either the company or Aquarino have made this public, but he's the U.S. repair guy. So he has a vested interest in the success of this device. So I get that. But I wasn't seeking attention. I've long-term tested this device. I kept that quiet for a very long time until I had permission to discuss that I had one. And then I shared. My experience with the device hasn't been as good as others. And like I already said, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not mad at Aquarino. I'm not mad at this device. Shit, I'm not mad at Acrokiller. He's just doing what he does. So, like I said, I didn't say this was junk. I didn't mention Acrokiller at all. I didn't accuse anyone of anything of fraud. I simply shared an equipment failure. Acrokiller, like I said, takes my post and turns it into a post, and I'm reiterating myself, I'm sorry, and then says I'm just seeking attention, that I've had the opportunity to repair the piece of equipment, and I have, but I've already discussed that. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe that's something I will do in the future, but I'm not done trying to figure out what happened with this one. So, even if someone had proven, say Acrokiller, if he had proven through some means that I was seeking attention, that would still not answer the question, why did the degassing chamber leak? Like, his assertion of my motive doesn't change the fact that this thing leaks. Like, this is a factual claim. As I use the machine, the reservoir slowly drains, and it's draining because it's getting into one of these chambers, and it's going back into my tank, because it's not leaking inside the cabinet where I keep the machine. So it's going back into my tank. I already touched on this, but Acrokiller is U.S. repair guy. I'm a hobbyist that likes reviewing things. So I have no business relationship with this thing at all. People will occasionally give me things to test. Hobbyists will give me things to test. Companies will give me things to test. But I am under no obligation, none, with any company to say or not say anything about anything. Okay? I want to be super clear about that. Aquakiller has a business relationship with this company. That doesn't make him wrong. It puts him in a really interesting position where he's whatever. By however that dude thinks, he's compelled to think that I'm saying something factually negative about a machine that he is really close to, and whatever, he takes that personal. That's stupid, but that happens. I shared his post on my Instagram where he said I was just seeking attention. And I'm like, well, that's dumb, because this is the entire story. This is how I've been treated by the company. This is my goal with this machine, right? I'm not just some dude who bought a thing and it doesn't work and I need it repaired right now because I spent money on this thing. I'm a dude who was given this device to test it and to provide feedback. And I've done that on several occasions. I've done that with the organization who gave me the device. I've done that with the manufacturer of the device. I've done that openly now on Instagram. Then I shared this Neil deGrasse Tyson quote. Like, my kid he's like, hey, listen to this. And he played me this thing off of TikTok. And I was like, well, that's a cool ass quote that I hadn't heard NDT say. And I was like, that struck me in a way that it applies to influencing. Essentially what I shared on Instagram as a story is saying that the smarter people get, the more informed, the more data, the more information people have to make decisions, the less impact influencing will make on their existence. Because if you're just a person who gobbles up the influencer feed, like, if that's who you are, so be it. But there's those of us out there, and I'm not saying this to be shitty, but who appreciate critical thinking, who appreciate understanding the equipment that they're using. To people like me, the more information, the better. Like, I've got like 6 or 7 Radeon XR30s downstairs because I was told they were the best. And maybe back then they were, but they're not now. So, and I spent a lot of money learning the impact of the influencer. Regardless, the point of that point is the more people learn, the smaller the influence from the influencer. Aquakiller takes that and turns it into some thing about me, like learning. I'd have to look and see what he actually said. Like me learning my lesson or something. Essentially, he had no clue what I was sharing. It had nothing to do with him. He made it about him. It had nothing to do with him. Nothing at all. It was just my kid walked up, showed me something. I was like, that's fucking cool. I'm going to change those words and make it about something that I think is important. Acro Killer makes it about him. Shocker. I didn't know this at the time, but this dude James jumps into my DMs, essentially telling me that I'm getting what I deserve. And I was like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And he makes all these claims, and we could save that for another time. Maybe I could read those. Actually, this is a dude that has engaged before. If you look in my YouTube, you'll find where I started live streaming a back and forth with him. Some of you may remember that I made fun of Rev What's-His-Face from Reef to Reef because he was telling everybody that we needed to give them some money. I made this video that spoofed that guy. And then James jumps into my comments like, I don't know who he thought I was making fun of, but he had no clue what he was talking about. And it was entertaining. And he was all in. James was all in. And he was going to go for it. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to start live streaming that conversation. It's in my YouTube somewhere, I think. Anyway. When James got in my comments, not once did he argue that the chamber didn't leak. He argued that I was toxic to the hobby, that I was unfair. They used fair a whole lot. That I haven't built products. So how dare I find deficiencies in other products since I haven't made my own products? Okay. And that desperately is not the right word, that I will seek out things from a Greg Carroll stream or an Acro Killer stream, that I'm lurking in the background watching and just waiting. That doesn't happen. I am sent occasionally content that those fellas make. Sometimes I say something about it. Sometimes I don't. More often than the world wants to agree, or accept, sorry. More often than the world wants to accept, I'm agreeing with Greg on so many points. But that's irrelevant because I don't 100% agree on all points. That's how it goes. None of those challenges that James threw at me yesterday address the engineering problem, the engineering question of this thing. They were all, I don't want to say ad hominem because they weren't. It was a mixed bag filled with cats, shook up, and then sort of just thrown at me while I was making dinner. The engineering point I made with the post was that this thing broke. Everything breaks. And I say that all the time. I don't care what it is. It's going to break. My coffee cup's going to break, right? This computer's going to break eventually. Like everything breaks. Maybe not. But everything breaks, right? For me, failure analysis helps me understand products better. And if given the opportunity, it helps me to offer suggestions or to help improve products, which I do. I'm asked to do that from time to time. I don't share that stuff. Sometimes I do. But broken things intrigue me, so I take a look. I look inside. I want to know. Knowing's half the battle, right? These are all things you've heard me say. When people stop reporting failures, like openly, comfortably, because they're afraid that the manufacturers will get upset, everybody loses. James was adamant that I'm being unfair to manufacturers. I'm a consumer. I don't care Like, I don't care. If a company wants their shit to be better, they're going to make their shit better. If I find something wrong with a thing I'm using that people have paid money for, I'm going to share that. I'm not going to share that, whatever. I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that with the people. I'm going to share that openly. I'm going to share that on Instagram. I'm going to share that potentially with a company. James also accused me of not talking about things that have failed. Of course, I provided a bunch of examples, but that doesn't mean anything to him because he's already been told what to think. He says I don't share when my equipment breaks, but I have. I've shared that my Reef Uno broke right before my warranty was out, and Daniel helped me. He sent me a part. I replaced it myself. Sent it back to him. Sent that broken part back to him, and my light's been working great ever since. I was open about my change from Jabo return pump to Orlushi. That Orlushi hasn't broken on me yet. I pulled one out after 3.5 years, the original, just to take a look at it, and there's nothing wrong with it. I had replaced it with the spare that I had on the shelf, but I still have that original pump, and that original pump still works. My Jabo doesn't. I talked about my Jabo SLW 20s or 30s. I can't remember which one it was, about how they break on me, not other people. So I'm sort of steering away from those. There were a couple other examples I gave him, but he didn't want to hear it because he'd already been told what to think. The whole thing about me wanting attention, right, from Acro Killer's post is stupid because I've been open, not just in my reply to that post, but I've been open about Aquarino's professionalism and communication. The dude behind that company loves to communicate. Sometimes when I don't want to communicate anymore. Like, it's a lot. And he's good at it. And he really, really cares. I would argue that every company should treat their products and their customers as well as that guy does. Period. I was open about it. I was open that I appreciate that. I was open that he had offered to repair my device. I've already talked about that. I shared why I declined his assistance. I mean, this is the new degas chamber that I made, right? This took me about an hour of my time with the laser behind me to just recreate this degassing chamber in acrylic, and it's sealed. I've leak tested it. It's not going to leak, right? So this is the kind of thing I do. Like, if I want to fix things because they're out of warranty, then I'm going to try to fix things. I'm going to try to better what I have, and I can do that. My experience gives me the opportunity to do that. I'm thankful for that. Whatever. I had mentioned the cleaning procedure. I can't say that the cleaning procedure is the thing that caused this thing to leak. I just happened to notice the leak after the fact. I didn't hide anything. I openly shared. That's okay. This takes me to a little bit of, I don't know, it's the antithesis of critical thinking, right? It's this blind trust thing. When criticism becomes unacceptable and loyalty replaces evidence, the hobby suffers. So there is this blind trust. There is this, like, equipment and manufacturers become part of the personality of some of these people where they will defend it as if, and I've said this before, where it's like I'm talking about their mama. Their mama's so fat. right? It's like that. I don't have that. Like, I don't have that gene. I don't have that. I don't have an emotional attachment to companies. I don't understand it either. Like, it's really weird. But people will, some people will blindly trust companies to the point where they're loyal. And that loyalty gets in the way of reality. It gets in the way of critical thinking. It gets in the way of information sharing. Because there then becomes this thing where you have to protect the company, where you're not allowed to say something about the company. My loyalty isn't to a company, an influencer, or in the case of people who manufacture things, people I consider friends. They'll be the first to tell you. Actually, I'm testing a thing right now from a friend. They'll be the first to tell you that I will immediately tell them why it sucks. What I think. I'll openly share an opinion. I'll tell them why an idea is dumb. Sometimes they argue back and I lose. That's okay. I like that. Because then I learn something. My loyalty is not to a manufacturer, to a friend, or to any fucking influencers. My loyalty is to the hobbyist who's on a budget and wants to save some money. And that directly conflicts with influencing. That directly conflicts with the group of people out there who just want to peddle things that are expensive and provide no additional value when compared to things that cost less. So when I point out things about equipment, if I'm wrong, prove it. I'll listen. I'm going to have an opinion about it. So be prepared. But if I'm wrong, let's go. I'll listen. If I'm right, let's improve the product. Let's figure out who that whatever. Let's see if they listen. Let's find out who is willing to make things better. When Reef Karen finds something wrong. Not talking about wrong things is like somebody seeing something wrong with a bridge, right? That Tacoma's narrow bridge is waving back and forth. Something is obviously wrong. And then raising their hand and saying, hey, I think the Tacoma narrow bridge has a design flaw. We should do something about it. And then the bridge falls down, or cars fall off, or whatever. and the people who didn't like the fact that I brought up that the bridge was bad attack me because I said the bridge was bad. Not focusing on the fact that the bridge fell or made cars fly off. They only focused on the fact that I said something was wrong. That's how I see all this. What some of these people don't like to do is focus on evidence. They like focusing on feelings. And if they focus on feelings, that leads to personal attacks. Whatever, I'm stupid. I've said things. I've shared goofy cartoons or pictures of people just to be a dick. Like I do it too. Those could be construed as personal attacks. Fair. I really try not to do that. But sometimes I'm an asshole. And if you question my motives without like asking me, because I'll be open about it, then you're the dumbass. If you attack my character without asking me, then you're the dumbass. And if you're weak and you make fun of me for various reasons or call me Reefing Karen or whatever, you're the dumbass. Because it's easier to go that way than to accept that something has broken, something that you have an attachment to, in some cases, something you have an emotional attachment to. So that's it. Have an open dialogue. I will absolutely talk to you. You may not enjoy that conversation, but life has choices, right? You have to make these decisions. You have to decide what's important to you. You have to decide if the hobbyist is more important than the company when we're talking about being fair. Whatever. There's all sorts of choices that have to be made. If you want to show your ass, show your ass. Don't get sad if you're called out on it. That's it. That's some dumb shit from the internet. If you want, share in the comments. If you want me to read verbatim the comments, I will. If you want to see how silly the accusations are, I'll share them. This dude's done this to me twice. And it's just, whatever. Not Acro Killer, that James guy. If you just read them, it's just like, I guess blind trust in other people too. Blind trust in other people's opinions. Because I just have a difficult time accepting that. No, I don't. He's just listening to other people and he thinks he knows. That's no different than so many other aspects in the world, right? Politics, religion. The stories you hear, the stories you tell, it's all the same shit, right? All right. That's some dumb shit from the internet. I am Jim. You're retired dumb shit from the internet. I hope you learned something today. All good. Happy reefing. Be kind to people. Challenge companies.